Welcome to Inside City Hall. I'm your host, Mayor Darrell Seymore, and today we're here at the Public Works Department in Show Low, and our guest is Bill Kopp, Public Works Director. Bill, welcome.
Mayor, good to see you.
This is quite a project we've had going on a couple of years now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We've been working on this for a couple of years. We actually studied it for a couple of years before we actually got a contractor and did the project.
So we're real close to completion. What percentage are we online and fully operation here?
I think we're about 95% fully operational now. We're running all automatic. We're just monitoring things and keeping an eye on making sure everything is working correctly. But it is fully automatic, and we're looking forward to being 100% here in just the weeks to come.
Oh, that's fantastic. You know, this was a big project, one of the largest projects we've ever taken on as the city of Show Low, and one of the things that when we go around and we studied this, one of our concerns was whether or not we'd be able to stay within the budget that was and the scope of everything that we'd proposed. I know some other towns had started with a $15 million budget, and then they had to go to 2 plants, and they were at $25 million by the time they were done, and all of those stories that we heard about, and very few people said that they started with the budget in mind and was able to complete it. And what was our beginning budget?
Well, our beginning budget was about $10.48 million. Of that money, about $7 million were dollars that the city had already saved from user fees and permit fees and other sources. So we ended up having to borrow about $3.5 million, which really was a very minor change to what our ratepayers were paying for their sewer fees. The project, as we went through the project, and now I'm feeling pretty comfortable, I can say that we will be under budget some amount. The main part of the contract came in about $37,000 under budget. I think we might have another $50,000 that we're going to save even moving forward. So we did very well on our budget.
Oh, that's fantastic. You and all the staff and everybody who was part of that, you know, congratulations and our applaud to you. I mean, that's one of the things that's fantastic when a big project like that comes within budget. And I think it's because we did our homework, and you guys did your homework, and we knew what we were up against. You know, it's interesting, years ago, back when the things were booming, Show Low, we were doing like 300, 350 permits a year, and part of that permit fee was for future development, and that's where we was able to acquire from those people moving in new homes. And when we look at that $7 million of savings definitely kept us from having to raise our sewer fees to our existing policy holders now, or sewer customers that we currently have. So that's great. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what the difference is that this project is going to do for us, why we had to have it, and what the main purpose behind it, and hopefully how long it will satisfy our needs that we have.
Okay, the reason why we went ahead and built the new plant is that the regulatory environment is continuously changing, and the regulations always get tougher and not easier. We really needed the new plant to replace the old technology that we're using here. There were certain requirements that our new permits were coming up with that the old plant just couldn't handle. When you build a new plant, you have to have the best available demonstrated technology. It's BADCAT is what they call it. And basically what that means is it has to be state-of-the-art. And obviously what we had was not state-of-the-art. We did a couple of projects where we did some upgrades to kind of limp along for a while, but it got to the point where we really needed to do the project.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, because we've changed it and everything, as far as people operating, manpower that we're going to need to operate it, how has that changed, or will that change?
I think the old plant was really a passive treatment system. You know, we had some aeration in it and some pumps, but it was very passive. This, because of the technology that we have here, everything is integrated. It runs automatic, but we still have to have folks that are monitoring things and making sure that all our readings are correct. And the other thing is there's a lot more infrastructure here to take care of, so we've got to have people out here cleaning things, spraying things down, and then also the testing takes quite a bit of manpower as well.
So there will be some extra costs just of maintenance and maintaining it going forward.
Right, and I think what offsets that though are the power savings. We're looking at having some pretty significant energy savings with this project. As a matter of fact, we met with APS a few months ago, and they did an energy audit on this facility, and we're expecting to get a check, a rebate check for energy savings from APS for about $59,000 here this month.
That's huge. That's a huge savings. That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit what our next steps are. We just kind of fine-tune everything right now and going forward, and then, you know, what else is next?
Well, obviously we've got some training. All of our guys, our operators here, have been trained as the project was moving forward. But I mean, just as we move along and encounter different things, you know, there's a learning curve there. So we're going to have quite a bit of training ongoing, and we hope just to have this thing completely turned over to automatic and meeting all of our testing requirements as we go forward.
Now our building is built as well, the site building that we were going to build out here?
We have one more building that we're going to put together here. We pulled that building out of the project in order to, we hope to get some local contractors. We did have very good local contractor participation in the main project, but we wanted to pull at least that one building aside and see if we could get some local participation. Obviously it's still going to have to be a competitive process, but we're planning on getting that out on the street here in the next few weeks. Really something that delayed that was another project. We're working on the public safety headquarters building, and that's taken quite a bit of staff time. So once we get that in front of council and hopefully approved, we can move forward with the next building.
You know, anytime you're dealing with sewer, you're also talking about your nose and the smell and those things there. Are we going to see any difference, you know, kind of downwind as we drive down the snowflake? Is that smell still going to be there? You know, because this obviously goes from here out there still, some of it, but what changes with odor abatement and different things that we have going on?
The water that we're discharging from this plant now, the new modern plant, compared to the water that we were discharging from the old plant, is much cleaner. There's less solids in there. We have these clarifiers, and I think we're going to talk about that maybe later on, but it's much cleaner effluent, and that will affect the odors that we've had north of town with those polishing ponds. And really the polishing ponds in the past with our old system were part of the treatment, and we no longer need those ponds for the treatment. Basically they're just an added part of the system. It helps, but it's not necessary. So it would be very clean effluent that's going into those.
And this is good for you personally. You now have this development under your belt that you can say that you've done a waste treatment. Is this your first chemical waste treatment plant?
This is my first wastewater plant
there. So that's awesome. Well, congratulations to
Thank you.
You know, we appreciate that. You know, we got some more stuff that we're going to talk about. We're going to take some pictures, show you around a little bit some of the things that are happening. So stay tuned. We'll have Jack with us here on our next segment. Thank you. Welcome back to Inside City Hall. I'm now down here on the south end of our treatment plant, and I'm here with Jack. He's the technician. Jack, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here today. And it smells fantastic, man. What do you guys do you got to get to work in the best environment? I'll tell you, no, it really stinks, but that's okay. What we're going to do is just share with us a little bit about what your role is, or the whole role of this system in this area, what goes on down here in the plant.
All right, well, I'm Jack. I work for the environmental department for Public Works. I'm the treatment plant operator here at Sholo. And here at the influent here at the treatment plant gets about 1 million gallons a day, Mayor, that comes into the plant that we have to treat. People flush their toilet and they figure they flush and forget, but it actually goes somewhere. And I get to see it here as it comes here.
So it's not just what, you know, comes through you know, the toilets and things. There's also our storm drains that we have in our community, or people washing their cars. A lot of that water, and just when we have a big rain or something, that water comes down here too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. We always notice a big increase in rain or increase in flow coming into the plant whenever we get the big monsoon storms and stuff like that. A lot of I&I coming into the infiltration coming into the sewer and stuff. So it all affects the treatment plant, especially during those monsoon months.
What's the maximum of gallons that this plant is built for that it could handle as far as, you know, full capacity or something?
Well, right now I believe it's about, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's about 2.5 million that our plant could handle, our new treatment plant. And the most that we get probably is the 4th of July weekend, about 1.5 million.
Yeah,
but we have a lot of storage, and and we can handle about 2.5 million
Oh, that's
per day.
Per day. That's a lot of water. That's a lot of water that we're pumping out of here.
Yeah.
So what else that goes on here and some of the things that you do?
So what the sewer comes here, and after it comes here, we screen it out. We have a series of bar screens and stuff, and we screen out the material, and then we get like plastic parts, rags. That's what we always talk about. Please do not flush baby wipes down the toilet because they don't dissipate like toilet paper. So they come here to the plant. We screen that material, plastic goods, like I said, and we store that. That way, when we take it over to the middle process of our secondary treatment, that we have just clean, I call it clean, but clean water coming in there. So this is basically a filtration area where we clean most of the sewage coming into the plant.
So that's one of the things that us as citizens need to be a little more aware about the waste that we dispose
Sure.
of, that we can make your job a little bit easier and better, because that's probably not a lot of fun part of the process.
No, it's not, and I try to stay clean. People think you work at the treatment plant, you get real dirty and stuff, but I've learned not to get this stuff on me. So we do a good job here. I'm real excited we have our new treatment plant, and like Bill was saying, there's a lot more technology going on here now where I'm learning every day, and just real excited to work here.
Well, we're excited for you. How long have you been with the city of Show?
It'll be 5 years in October. It's a fast 5 years, so I've been working in the environmental department the whole 5 years, and hope another 15.
Well, thank you for what you do. We appreciate it. So Jack, we got this spot here. There's some other areas that you'd like to show us here and go through and talk about some other areas that are happening here on the sewer treatment.
Yes, Mayor. So after the sewer leaves here at the headworks, we're going to go over to the middle area, the biolac basins in the clarifiers, and show the secondary treatment of how we make the water even that much more cleaner.
All right, let's go to clean water.
All right.
All right, we've kind of moved locations back here with Jack next to the clarifier. Jack, why don't you kind of explain what this happens behind us here?
So with the water comes back into the biolac basins, we have two 2 million gallon biolac basins here at the treatment plant. And then after the biolac basins, we do some aeration, which cleans the water and gets the microorganisms to eat the solids. That way, kind of like a septic tank. So we try to minimize as much solids as we can. After it leaves the biolac basins, it comes into these clarifiers. There's 600,000 gallons apiece, and we have 2 of them here at the treatment plant. Basically what it does is it goes around in a skid and it settles all the solids down to the bottom and leaves the clean water up at top, so we can treat the solids over at another building we'll talk about in a minute, and keeps all the clean water on top, almost like a sand dial, you know, gets the sludge to the bottom.
Yeah, looking at that water, it's really quite clear.
Yes.
It's amazing that we're at a sewer plant and the water's that clear. That's awesome.
I love
That's awesome. We're going to go over to the last building we're going to look at, and we'll go from there. Okay, we're now at our final place here. Jack, kind of explain what this area is.
This area here is the pump room. What we do is after we clean all the water, we need to treat the water before we send it out to jurisdictional waters. We use chlorine gas to do our treating of the water, and every day we have a guy that goes out and makes sure that the water is being chlorinated when we send it out into the wetlands. Now, ADQ, what they want us to do is make sure we need to disinfect with chlorine, but they don't want no chlorine going out into the water for fish and wildlife. So we got 2 checks. We make sure we disinfect, and we make sure that we don't have any chlorine going out. So this is a big, important process to the treatment of our treatment plant here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So add, take away, and make sure it's perfect.
Exactly.
And some of the things we have.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting how that wetlands will still come into play with our sewer treatment. And so this is where a lot of testing and everything takes place of what's going on right in this section, right?
Yes, it is. We have composite samplers where we can sample our water as it's leaving the plant every hour for 24 hours, bring them to the laboratory and analyze them here, and take them over to a laboratory down in the valley for checking to make sure we have no metals, no seleniums, anything like that, no ammonia. We want to make sure we're putting out the cleanest water that we can out to our water.
You're testing every single day?
Absolutely.
And 2 or 3 times.
Yes,
That's
sir.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate you showing us around, and it's a lot more technical than a lot of people can imagine, and we appreciate it. So, you know, if you ever have any questions, give us a call at City Hall. We'll be happy to explain a little bit more about our sewer treatment plant, but we appreciate you being with us today, and have a great day, and talk to you later.